there's a skepticism that still exists even in first purchase.
Can I say I hate it? Like, it sucks.
I actually hate it.
Do more with less.
Track daily, optimize weekly, course correct.
It's impossible.
Offer me something or hook me up.
My God. Like,
0 people care about you.
You shouldn't be a daily user of LinkedIn. We'll say that.
Scale.
On today's episode of the podcast, Bryan Holladay, Fractional CMO, owner of South 9th, and a good friend of mine joins me to talk about e-commerce KPIs and exactly what KPIs you as a brand should be focusing on, especially going into 2024. Bryan and I talk about acquisition KPIs, retention KPIs, contribution margin, all of the really important things. It's like dollars, P&L, how to run your marketing really, really profitably, because that's how a lot of brands are currently getting burned, is they overinvest in marketing and they're not looking at the right numbers to know whether or not they're profitable on the return that they're getting. Bryan has a really cool way of approaching attribution for omni-channel marketing that I think you guys will really love. So let's get into the episode. Welcome to the show, Bryan. Super excited to have you on the show, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Yeah, so I'm a fractional CMO, primarily focusing in on direct-to-consumer product, and find that I kind of fell into it, but yeah, love working with primarily kind of D2C. Early days of my career, did some like B2B work and whatever, but just didn't see the kind of same dynamic passion that exists when consumers fall in love with a product, and then that product becomes popular, and then you're able to like grow it and scale it. B2B is like super tactical, and I still have a little bit of say, but it's only when I only work with B2B when it's a customer that sells the direct-to-consumer product. So it's good stuff, man.
What path does one take to fall into becoming a fractional CMO?
Fractional is a loose term in the sense that, right, I would say it's kind of the new fancy word of saying like, I'm a consultant. But my background is a little bit more CMO per se in where I've worked. So, to those listening, there's a ton of paths and opportunities to create what you define as a CMO. And so I would define myself as like a digital growth sided CMO, numbers, the metrics, the delivery. There's an entire different side of CMO that's more like brand and whatever. And so you'll see a lot of operators in a position of chief marketing officer or head of whatever, depending on the size of the organization. And so when I started and moved, actually not originally from Utah, but I'm in Utah now, came to work for an agency, I was kind of just doing it based off of my experience. I have an entrepreneurial background, started at a startup back early in the Facebook days and kind of went down that route. Then went kind of and just consulted. I was young, just trying to find my way. Anyhow, ended up at this agency here in Utah. We kind of focused in on like more small businessy approach and some internal product that was being built and a couple other things. What I ended up doing was just being patient in that role. And agency didn't work out in the sense of just like what we were offering and kind of how we were going. We were trying to do some aggressive stuff. What would kind of be Podium now, a little bit of pre to that market. We were trying to build some tech and do some things, and anyhow, funding ran out and a couple of things. So I ended up fortunately getting connected with a brand to focus and help them on paid social, specifically Facebook ads. And they were a sports nutrition company called Gnarly Nutrition. Great brand, incredible product. Still the original kind of founding group are operating that business, and came in just kind of to help with growth, and then was able to work my way into becoming their CMO. So from that, I just kind of was there for three years or so, 3.5 years, and then got to know another organization here in Utah, great group at PMD Beauty. And PMD Beauty was already like an incredibly established brand. I think had been in business for like 8 years prior to me coming on. and came in just on the same role of like growth and whatever. Because of the way we were structured, our founder was an incredible marketer, and he had great experience. And so we kind of all ran under his direction that way. And so anyhow, moving forward, I just kind of stayed in those kind of executive per se at the seat, having a seat at the table type scenarios. And kind of that's where we're at now. So, a couple things to note that I think are key here are I never stopped hustling. Like I never stopped being not open to new opportunities. And so when it came chance for me to kind of do my own thing, I had already networked really well. Not really well, but I had networked well enough that I had the confidence in myself to be fractional CMO. And so I had enough confidence to know, what does it look like to run retail? What does it look like to do, large campaigns, big spends, manage, teams, do all that type of stuff, understand the data, so that I could just be like, hey, I think I could go do this for a brand that hasn't gotten to this point and be actually impactful for them. And then just do it again, and rinse and repeat that way.
And the numbers are key here, right? Because a lot of DTC brands kind of struggle with the unit of economics when it comes to e-commerce, right?
most of them do.
That's where your expertise kind of comes in. And that's why I wanted to invite you on the podcast, because awesome. I really like your methodology and your approach and how you let the numbers drive the strategy to some extent, right? And just knowing your numbers is really a secret sauce in growing any e-commerce brand. So
yes, it is.
In your opinion, as a fractional CMO, Bryan, what are the top KPIs every e-commerce brand should be monitoring?
Each business's goal is to make money. And so that's where we'll chat about here in a second, like my key focus is, but know that each business is not the same. Even if you're categorically trying to compare yourself against a similar, competitor, you are not the same businesses. And so your cost economics, your overhead, your whatever, those are all different. Your margin, they could be significantly different. So just be patient in knowing that you're not the same. Now, with that being said, the North Star to me of a successful business is its EBITDA, like straight up, like after everything's said and done, what money is living there. Now, working up the funnel per se is things like contribution margin, right? Which is just kind of like revenue minus your variable costs. So looking at things like just a step up from true EBITDA is kind of that contribution margin, right? And that's just the metric that helps you define profitable revenue. It's not final profit, but it's at least profitable revenue. If you've got your variable expenses in order and you have enough revenue, and after those variable expenses, there's money, that's a good thing. And then as we start again working back up, I think the other key metric, a really key metric that a lot of brands I don't think fully understands is the difference between a CPA and a CAC. Yeah. There is a significant difference, right? We want the CPA to be the cost per acquisition related to new customer, and the CAC being related to known consumer, right? And the level of understanding of how much your total marketing spend drives return customer efficiency, if that makes sense, versus what you're actually able to acquire in a net new customer acquisition when taking like all expenses into account. And so ensuring that number, regardless of your media mix, that you understand what that number is, whether it's healthy or not, that it's an understood number. And then kind of blending in all that kind of along that same levels is like an MER, right? So just the marketing efficiency ratio, just a little bit more granular, like broader in understanding what expenses and what revenue is across all marketing channels and across all revenue. And so a lot of the times, just as a preface here, and we might get into this a little bit more, but there's a significant difference between a true direct-to-consumer product, right, and a company that sells to consumers. And so the difference is the distribution of their product on open channel, third party, whatever. So, you're a brand, you sell on a Shopify store. Awesome. The second you start Amazon, and then you're like, oh, sweet. Then you go to like Target Direct, and then you go to Walmart, and then you're like, awesome, we're getting that. And then some of those retailers contact you and you start going in store and doors, and then like potentially owned and operated stores. Like there's a lot of distribution of revenue and then a lot of distribution of impression. And that's where MER is just a clear number of that.
Over the last 2 years, since e-commerce kind of had like its artificial jump and dump.
The bubble.
Yeah, crazy to even think about.
The Blue Aprons, the Casper mattresses, the Warby Parkers.
Are you seeing that brands are starting to care more about some of those KPIs that you just mentioned now that things are really, really tight and access to capital is really limited?
Oh, they have to. I mean,
Right.
I think either like there's that, right, back to your 2 years ago. I mean, I think it even goes beyond 2 years ago. I mean, it goes until like the social media darlings of 2016 to about 2019, 18, when legit you could do no wrong. Meaning both from a capital perspective, like you could just go raise on whatever valuation you threw out there, or you just like whatever had come up with the, you became the Airbnb of, right? Which kind of was popular. Like, oh, hey, like we're the this of that. We're the Dollar Shave Club of, we're the Dollar Shave Club. And it's like, as that began to wear off, what came from that is the fact that cool, all this valuation, all this revenue, all this whatever, if there's no like profit at the end of that rainbow, investors have a hard time sticking around. And so like, yeah, so what's forced e-commerce to do is build profitability into their model. And if they're not, it's not that they're going to be done, they are done. Like you just will not survive.
Right, which explains all of the closures that we're seeing, all the bankruptcies, all the layoffs. Like Etsy just laid off 12% of their staff yesterday.
I mean, because again, it's leveraged revenue potential. That's the problem. The problem is it's no different than the stock market. Like there is a volatility in outputted exposure and reach. And the problem is that if you don't play your hands right, you'll activate marketing that doesn't get the raw ROI that it's supposed to because you haven't done your due diligence, and you'll just straight burn money. And that burnt money goes nowhere. And who's to pay for it? It's 12% of their staff. Or it's an entire organization as a whole, just gone.
Yeah, and I think that we're going to see, I mean, any brands listening in on this, like, I think our advice to you would be, like, get scrappy, get efficient, like, cut costs, do more with less. I mean, even from the agency side, I mean, that's what everyone's kind of being forced to do right now.
And I think the key brands that are doing well are identifying what a win is. What's a win? A win is different for each brand. And I think it also always doesn't have to be incredibly crazy 25, whatever. I don't know. Those are insane, but like 15 to 18% EBITDAs, right? It just needs to be healthy. And healthy is not in the negative, right? Not being cash negative. If you're in the position of running growth for a brand in this marketing world, and you don't have visibility into or a relationship with the P&L, that relationship and that client, that account is not going to last. It's just not. You have to know why and what they're doing that's impacting your ability to do what you're good at, right? I'm a Google guy. Awesome. You need to understand what variable expenses are happening across the business that are impacting why the CEO may and financial side of the business may be looking at what you're doing or whatever as a gain or a loss. And if you don't know the nuances of every aspect of their cost systems and expenses and all that, like you're screwed. Like you've got to be in control. And the visibility gives you power. So like if there's one thing out there to someone that feels like they don't have connection or that they don't feel like they've got control over either their current work situation, if you're just brand side, which I was brand side forever, or you're a consultant, get visibility to the P&L.
Knowing the P&L allows you to make smarter decisions, right? And it's better for everyone if there's visibility on that front. Being
a consultant into it, we also see other P&Ls, what's healthy, what's not healthy, and we can be assisting and consulting those things. And it doesn't have to be as crazy as we're not assisting to make decisions on warehousing and this and that or whatever, but we definitely can say, okay, your product margin's blank, like should be incredibly involved in pricing strategy, right? Because pricing strategy has everything to do with conversion efficiency. And then conversion efficiency has everything to do with dollars spent in driving impression, right? And so the cyclicality of all that, if not understood, then you're just working with like less and less and less. And as the blinders come in, yeah, you're going to get blindsided when the clients come into you when their expectations are significantly off.
What KPIs are you really keeping a close eye on with the brands that you're currently working with?
Yeah, CPA has been our North Star as of recent, because of the craziness of attribution and the loss of the cookieless environments that we're moving into and privacy stuff and whatever, right? Ultimately, you just got to kind of look at from a blended perspective. Where am I seeing revenue potential? Where am I getting acquisition that is scalable? And can I manage that efficiently? So when looking at acquisition, what we do or what I do in my mindset is look at what is it generally falling in at? Where does it sit against, CAC as a whole? And how off are they? How close are they? A lot of that has to do with return customer efficiency and so on. And then kind of identify, weirdly enough, but just in-platform opportunity. I try to trust attribution. I really do. I want to. My heart really wants something that just says this is first, this is last, or this is middle. But if the collective result of all of my spend across various channels, doesn't matter the mix you've got. If each of those, when controlled in a controlled environment, if you spend more and you make more and you continue to spend more, and all of those indicators inside of your platform are showing what it defines as success, if that makes sense, scale.
Yeah.
Like that, it's what it is. So if your meta in platform is a 2 and a 2 and a 2, and you keep spending the same, you spend more and it stays a 2, and your revenue, and your CAC and or just blended MER is equally healthy, wouldn't you just spend more money? And then where you potentially are seeing conversion inefficiency in platform is you see the in-platform ROAS drop. I don't need attribution to tell me when Meta doesn't think something's performing. It'll tell me that. Now, do I trust that was exactly the attributed conversion? No, but as a relative benchmark, for sure. If I was clipping at a 2 and I bump up to a 3 and I bumped up my spend to the moon, I'm going to just keep going until I fall back down below that 2. But again, I'm also just methodically looking at margin. Not like contribution margin. I'm methodically looking at ROAS efficiency, total spend to total revenue. Like those are the things I'm looking at. And if those are all in line, trust what you see in your acquisition efficiency in platform. And then, if you're using a North Beam, a Triple L, a blah, 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 cool. It should just be assisting in content efficiency, metrics related to engagement.
And I guess while we're on the subject of attribution, can I say I hate it? Like it sucks.
I actually hate it.
It's just like, we're all on this quest to figure out exactly what happened and trying to map out our customer journey perfectly.
To do what?
It's impossible.
To then come back and say, proved you wrong, bro. It was Google, and it was all. Thank you, I guess. I don't know.
And really, I think like what's driving this whole thing is like you've got your Facebook marketers and you've got your Google marketers.
Oh,
maybe they're in-house, maybe they're two separate agencies.
It's East versus West all day long.
It's like tug and
in-house
pull
versus agency. Oh, 100%. And the problem is, again, if the North Star was directed to blended effort, I don't care where it's coming from, as long as we can see scale in your efforts, right? In whatever platform you attain yourself as the expert in, cool. Like, good on you. But yeah, to your point of like thinking some freaking UTM attached at the back end of a click-based conversion, you're out of your mind.
And it doesn't make any sense to even try to measure attribution when you're looking at like a view attribution model versus a click attribution model. Like, there's no one in the world that could tell you if someone seeing a Facebook ad impacted their decision to buy from a Google ad. Like, it's impossible.
Then you put in some CTV in there, throw in some podcast, put an influencer, and then, oh, by the way, you're end capped in 50% of targets across the country. Like, you tell me where they saw you. You tell me where they got their first impression. Like, it just doesn't exist. And so the problem is if you put your heart and soul into that, you're going to lose. You just lose. Like, you're better off looking at, as you get into large accounts, you'll hear things like mixed media modeling and those types of things. That stuff's good. And it is legit. Again, if you're doing like $500 million, you get into the $20 million range, you still don't even know who your customer is.
Let's talk about retention real quick. Obviously, LTV, CLV, like those are very, very important metrics, but what else are you looking at, or what else do you care about when you're looking at, overall retention for your brands?
I tend to put a lot of focus in on return customer rate on second purchase. So time to second purchase.
Something we like to look at is the retention curve. So it's basically a graphical representation of, you look at first purchase, it's always going to be up 100% of your orders, right? So it's always going to be at the top. But where you go down to that, who comes back for that second purchase, that big drop off is where you really have a lot of opportunity there. And you just see how that changes over time. And by the end of it, you get to like purchase number 10, and it's like, 0.5% of your customers, right? Just a cool way to like understand like, okay, where are my customers dropping off? Where could I maybe like invest more time into solving a problem like that?
And I recently heard a podcast where they kind of talked about this, and we've been testing it with a couple clients high level. And I know you've got a ton of experience in this too, Tanner, but like there's not effort lost in identifying the thing that the person initially came in the door to purchase. Right now, this is where it gets really crazy as far as depending on the type of product and service you have and a lot of different scenarios. But what we're finding is the more granular you get in identifying what was that first product, and then just being smart with just knowing that if product was A, then we offer 1, 2, and 3. If product was B, then we offer 1, 2, and 3, right? Or whatever that may be. And so we find that the more specific we are in a post-purchase sequence, rather than like a general welcome, hey, you should care about us. 0 people care about you. We did a ton of email sends on 2 clients. And what we tested for like a 6-month period was engagement specific to 1P, 1 purchase, and then 2P plus. So 0 purchase, people that hadn't purchased, right? And we're doing like mass emails, campaign work or whatever. 0P, 1P, and 2P plus. What we found was consumers were more engaged to click and to open at 0 and 2 plus. 1P people are still skeptical. And so one thing I always tell people, I'm like, look anywhere in your house at a more larger purchased item, okay? If you don't have 2 of those things, you are not loyal. You're just not loyal. I'm serious. Like if you don't have 2 of that brand, you're not a loyal customer. And so And so again, cars, those things but like you're looking at like electronics, you're looking at like things that you have, right? If you don't have multiple of those, you are not loyal. And so when you look at your sequence, there's a skepticism that still exists even in first purchase. I didn't think it fit right. Oh, wasn't sure. I wasn't what was expected. It's not that they don't like you. They just didn't like you as much as you thought they would like you.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
And so we tend to try to create a lot of the times this loyalty to a brand that they don't even really even care about yet. Right. And so we got this brand story, meet our founder, do this thing. I'm just like, at the end of the day, I just want a bottle of water. Like, I just want a cup. I was looking for a new mouse. I'm just looking, you know what I'm saying? I need some new headphones. Yeah. I don't care where Beats came from. I don't. I love Apple and I got everything Apple. Like, I know a lot of stuff about Apple, right? Because I became passionate about it. Like certain brands I have this affinity towards. And so but that affinity comes over quality engagement with quality product. So at the end of the day, if you got a crappy product, like shut your doors down, go become like
good luck.
Best of luck, right?
Go work at McDonald's.
Yeah, exactly. Do anything. Be a plumber, like go find a trade or move brands. But what I'm saying is like good product should drive back a percentage of consumers back into that. But don't expect, legit, do not send me in my first email, welcome. Don't waste your time. I don't care. I'm going to just skim it over. Offer me something. Okay. Or tell me something that's going to go good with the thing I just got. That's it. Like offer me something or hook me up. Like do something that surprises and delights me. But don't tell me about your founder. I don't give a crap about your charity and whatever stuff you're doing. I just don't. Not yet. Like it's too early.
Yeah, and there's a way that you can effectively measure that actually. If you track pre and post delivery NPS, you can on a per SKU basis, you can actually track whether or not expectations aligned with reality on a product someone purchased. Because I firmly believe that's the main reason why they don't come back for the second purchase. Like you mentioned that. It didn't meet their expectations. They didn't fall in love with it.
Yeah, they're not mad. They probably still use it. They're just like, I just don't know if I'm going to get the next version of it if you're a single unit product. Or I just don't know if I'm going to get the other things you have to offer. It was cool, but I got other things on my list of wallet share that I care more about.
But also I think the customer experience has such a huge impact on that, right? Because like recently I started buying True Classic clothes.
Yeah.
And it's because they're all over, right? So they obviously got my trust there, but I was like, they're just basic clothes. Like how good could they be, right? And so I ordered a bundle of just some t-shirts and like, from start to finish, that whole customer experience is just like top tier, S tier. And I probably have spent more with their store than most of their customers have for the last 5 years in the last 3 months. So,
well, sweet. You're like, well, they make jeans now. Their coat's probably pretty dialed in. And right. And again, that comes with first purchase test, recognition of quality and value of the product, not who you are. Right. That's potentially decisions they made high level to whether they aligned with buying you or not. But in 90% of the time, you're buying it because of its price, because of what you think its assumed quality is.
So, Bryan, what would you say your secrets to scale are? And I'm really excited for your answer on this one. I've been thinking about it all week.
What is my secret to scale? Success doesn't come overnight, right? And so brand opportunity and growth doesn't come overnight. And when it does, even when it does, in most cases, it breaks things, right? And so I've been with brands where we had those viral moments where we did multi-million-dollar weeks and it sucked. Like it was hard and it broke and we hadn't planned incrementally for that. So why I live and breathe off of my secret to scale is incrementality has a lot to do with like everything is what happened today, like track daily, optimize weekly, and course correct monthly. That to me has been the most impactful part of what I've been able to identify is that opportunities come and go as a brand, right? Influencer does this, whatever happens, there's this constant flow. What you don't want to do is leverage whatever you have to try to chase after that. Does that make sense? Like legit, straight out, like create your strategy and plan and like go against it, like push against that. And then if you get insight via data, always run data first, right? That's why like incrementality is a very data driven mindset, but then also off of understanding kind of gut checky market stuff. Should we develop this product or not type of thing? Should we enter this category, whatever that may be? Should we change our price? Should we whatever? Should we open retail? Should we go into retail? Should we do our own stores? Should we do pop-up shops? Should we pay this big fat thing for an influencer? Whatever those may be, that should be made after the last step, right? Track daily, optimize weekly, course correct. Course correction also includes just the understanding of, are we doing the things we need to do to be successful the following month, the following year, the following 5 years?
What's your opinion on looking at like year over year, comparing like daily activity versus, what happened today last year? I
believe that there's indicators that help you understand a benchmark generally. But dude, you telling me that 2023's December is the same economically that existed in 2020? Complete opposite. We weren't in aggressive inflation. We weren't in active military engagements in different parts of the world. Like we just weren't there. Because we're not there, you can't look at December the 14th and assume that it's going to anniversary December the 14th. Now, can you look at indicators as far as like, okay, today's the safest date for to tell your customers to shipping before Black Friday. I mean, before holiday, right? Before Christmas. You can do that. Like, okay, but that wasn't the case last year. Like it's beneficial that the fact that there's still a Friday and Saturday before Christmas, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday before Christmas, right? That didn't happen last year. It was on a Sunday. And so they just like the way the days fall on the week. And like, so I look at it as an indicator, but I try not to measure last year's success or failures on my opportunity that's in front of me today.
Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you'd like anyone listening to know?
Don't assume again that what you see in success from another brand is what it is, right? Like there's everyone has like junk in their closet. And so no two brands are the same. So just be confident where you're at, be confident in your skill set, be confident in your ability to drive the result that makes your business successful, right? And success is measured in a lot of different ways. So just be like comfortable with being uncomfortable, but more than less, be comfortable with just knowing that like you have more than likely the skills that you need to be successful, and spend time only listening to people that are going to help you be better. So if it's a webinar that's going to teach you how to read a P&L, go to it, dude. Like if it's a seminar where they're going to walk you through like specifics on scaling Google, go for it. But like, don't feel like you're going to go to some rah type conferencey setup or any of those walking away. Just like, if you need that from a motivation, then do it. But like, listen to those that are going to teach. Don't listen to those that are going to just like fill your mind full of like randomness related to what they feel is successful.
Yeah. Or those that are just going to make you feel bad about, where you might be compared to whatever illusion they're putting out there. Right?
Well, you're not doing that. You're not already in retail. Like, who are you? Why are you even in business? It's like, no, man. Like, play your game, understand your business, what your success is. Their success is different. You don't know how leveraged they are financially. You don't know how much pressure they're getting from an advisory board, not advisory board, but like a board of directors, like just play your game.
And that's great advice. I've actually had to just like take a step back from LinkedIn because 100%. Of all the LinkedIn bros. Like my God, like, I didn't do $10 million last year. I'm the worst. I'm the worst.
Yeah, it's so funny. I was chatting with a buddy of mine the other day about exactly the same thing. And he's like, you know what's funny is the dudes actually out crushing it are not on here because they're actually like out doing and building and scaling and whatever.
Because they don't have time.
They don't have time to, exactly.
I believe some of them are being truthful, but they only tell you the positive side, right? They don't talk about their struggles. Like maybe every 3 months they talk about, a big win they got, but it may have been preceded by 10 giant losses and they may have almost lost everything, right?
Yeah, so, exactly. So true.
What's a great way for anyone listening to get in touch with you?
Yeah, LinkedIn. I mean, I know we just were trolling on it, but LinkedIn's the best. It's like the easiest. I don't post a ton. Every once in a while I do. It's just kind of a random thought here and there. But no, LinkedIn's the best. I tend to find that, right, everyone's careers are pretty cyclical. LinkedIn tends to be kind of the central hub of whatever kind of flow that you're in, whether, I started my own business or I'm back brand side or, right, I'm unemployed and I need help or whatever. Like I tend to find the LinkedIn community, if leveraged properly, can be a great place just to stay in the loop. Right. So when one of those big events goes down, you've got a community that you can at least lean on, especially like, tragic things like unemployment or whatever, like, and don't hesitate to get out and leverage those networks, right? Like I've been in those situations. I've been unemployed and underemployed and all those things, and like rely on those networks and don't be afraid to be vulnerable or whatever. So yeah, LinkedIn's the best. Just a great little kind of community that I've gotten a ton of value from in making connections that tend to happen on phone calls and meetups and different things, but. Yeah, LinkedIn.
I have some good things to say about LinkedIn as well. I mean, I have a great network on there and I've met a lot of great people there. I mean, I source a lot of people for the podcast on there and I communicate with people there regularly. I just don't post every day because it gives me anxiety.
Agreed.
You shouldn't be a daily user of LinkedIn. I'll say that.
I agree with you. Check in.
We'll put a link to your LinkedIn profile in the show notes as well as a link to your website. And thank you again, Bryan.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Tanner.